All right. Very good evening to you, coming to you, reporting live from Johannesburg. I am Kagiso Sithole, and today we start our big story with something that has been tragic, especially when it comes to the scenes of the politics and economic reform in South Africa. We know that the former governor of South African Reserve Bank and also the Minister of Finance, Tito Mboweni, passed away this past Saturday after a short illness. He died at the age of 65, and one thing that he will be remembered about and a legacy that he will be leaving behind is of fiscal responsibility and economic reform. And we've been seeing a lot of political people, a lot of political politicians coming out sharing their remarks on what role that he has played and what he has shared amongst his positions that he has played. One thing that we know, that he was very part of the social media streets, where we saw him being a man all over Twitter, sharing all his thoughts and expressing his views there around that. And definitely that's what we are hearing, and that is what we are seeing. What we know so far is that a funeral will be taking place this coming Saturday, and we all know that the presidency has set out that it's going to be declared a special funeral, a category 2 for the former minister. And President Cyril Ramaphosa was stating out those remarks, and also sharing some of his views around what is happening, especially when it comes to his contributions to economic changes and economic reforms. And that is what the president was saying. Another person and other politicians that are coming out has to be the former the Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, taking out his remarks and taking out his condolences and sharing wonderful moments around what the former minister and South African Reserve Bank governor was as a person here. I want us to just take a listen to what he had to say.
An intellectual, no doubt about it. He was an economist, intellectual, revolutionary intellectual, erudite, loyal servant of the African National Congress. That was Tito Mboweni to us. He could interact with anyone, with any topic, with no difficulties.
Right, that is the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Fikile Mbalula. They're reiterating some of the moments and memories that they've shared together with the former South African governor and the Minister of Finance, Minister Tito Mboweni, right, to reflect on his passing and also the impact that he had when it comes to the political spectrum of South Africa. I'm now joined by our political analyst, Sibusiso Sikhakhane Sithole. Sibusiso, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the news desk. Mboweni was known for his strong stances when it comes to economic policy and his tenure as finance minister in such a very pressing time when we had COVID-19. How would you describe his contribution to the South African economy and also the political spectrum?
We've lost quite a very strong person with a strong character, as you've alluded. I think this is someone who started politics at a very young age. If you look at the time when he was the Minister of Labour back in 1994, he was just 35 years old. So it tells you the time that he had in government, being the Minister of Labour, coming to being the SARS governor back in 1999 up until 2009. And you look at the time where we had a recession. Fortunately, it didn't hit us when he was still the governor of the Reserve Bank. And also, you look at the time when he was the finance minister during difficult times of COVID-19. He's someone who implemented a number of policies that changed, one, the fiscal, two, the labor market. You look at the things that he has done. He's someone who, or she isn't a name, man, and we can see those things. They are very much tangible.
Definitely, I've been listening to a lot of reactions, people talking about that. At the age of 35, he had to change the economic reform. Black people were excluded, especially in the economic spectrum of things, and he had to be the driver and also to help producing some of jobs around that 1994 era. What are the lessons that you think that politicians today need to take in order to drive South Africa into success?
He came in as a very young lad, just 5 years old. That tells you when you have a vision, when you have a vision, most important. That's the most important part. With a vision, we are able to implement things and bring in young people. I think that's what we need to take. Give young people an opportunity so that they thrive wherever they are. When you look at his tenure, he took 10 years without being government, but when he came back, he was able to assist us, even though even though being COVID-19, but we're able to thrive as an economy. Yes, we have not yet been there where we wanted, but he was able ukuthi sikhona ukuthi ingashayi kakhulu COVID. So for us to be successful, I think this is a lesson that young people must be given an opportunity so that they are able to bring in their ideas. When you look at the time that he came in government, it was during after apartheid, actually, back in 1994. But he was able to bring a lot of influence in the labor policies that were implemented. You look at the basic labor conditions. Policies that he introduced, we are still using them up until today. So young ideas, fresh ideas, they do work in government. We don't need really old people. So that's my take. I think we should give young people an opportunity always to take leadership positions.
Definitely. Young people need to take a stand and have a voice in the bettering the country. Now let's talk about, he was a very humoristic person. He used to love a lot of Twitter, and also he was known as the Twitter chef. And a lot of people have been resonating his character to saying that he was one person who was able to blend within different generations. I mean, take a look at Casper Nyovest taking out a song, knowing him to be a man of all things money. What do you think about his personality and his blending throughout generation? Right, I think that is Sibusiso. They're having some network challenges there, but we are talking about the passing of the former South African Reserve Bank governor and also former Minister of Finance, Minister Tito Mboweni, who has definitely passed on at the age of 65 this past Saturday. And a lot of sad remarks have been, people have been pouring out their contributions. People have been sending out their contributions, a lot of politicians, and talking about the fact that he has put a lot into a lot of testament and life into bettering the economy of South Africa and dedication within the economy of South Africa. And that is what was reiterated in a lot of the reactions that we are seeing happening there. And another person that came out strongly in reflecting around his legacy was also Dr. Naledi Pandor, who's the former Minister of Labor, not labor, of international relations, saying that he developed frameworks that gave life to labor rights in our constitution, showing the fact that he played a lot in our constitution, and he has done a lot in our constitution in order to benefit and give a testament. And the ANC is showing a lot of remarks saying that Mboweni's life was a testament to his dedication to the people of South Africa. And this goes to show that he put a lot of dedication to a lot of of differences in South Africa. It has to be a story around the children in Hammanskraal who found themselves, they had some chocolate, and that chocolate was, expired chocolate, and they find themselves going into hospital. This is an article by the Times Live, dated the 16th of October 2024. It says 47 pupils from a primary school in Hammanskraal, aged 9 to 14, became ill after eating an expired chocolates from with a date of June 2024. I can imagine the worries that the children are there, and the worries that the children are there facing, and definitely doing some rounds there. And we saw that the past week, the Soweto residents saw themselves burying their children, burying their loved ones after they also bought something from local puzzle shops. And we saw that even this afternoon, there was a lot of looting happening in some parts of our country. There was looting happening there in puzzle shops, a lot of angry people showing their remarks there. And, children are being poisoned. Children are, we do not know whether should now children go to the stores on their own, or children should be able to do certain things on their own. And we are seeing that this is a story that it has been doing rounds. And again, another story that has been doing rounds around that has to be in another primary school that we are seeing in our country. That is the Maisele primary school, where we saw that there were suspected poisoning incidents where learners were transported, around 20 learners, about 20 plus learners, transported into hospital to go do some checkups, and the doctors there gave them just some just to check that it was just a scare, but only 3 were still left there in hospital to still get some treatment. And a lot of parents came out to go fetching their children at school, and they said that these kids bought something from a local vendor. These were unbranded crisps that they bought from a vendor that has been selling at that school for more than over decades. And we are seeing an incident happening there, which is such a tragic that we are seeing. I'm seeing there on the comments there, only saying that I'm starting to think that our kids are being poisoned on purpose. Definitely, that is what we are seeing. We are seeing that our kids are being poisoned day in, day out, and these are incidences that we are getting and we are speaking about. And my co-host Babalwa Manzana is here to kind of share some light on what story that she has been about, and my co-host Babalwa Manzana is seeing in our country. I don't know if Babs is able to hear me or is part of this live. Babs, are you here?
I can hear you definitely, KG. I was also saying that it's quite devastating. Some technical glitches on my side when it comes to network. It's quite devastating, when to see now that I'm hearing you saying also that it's been quite a very long time the vendor has been selling in the school. And then you start to raise questions to yourself, you understand? To try and make sense of how do we deal with these kind of things that are actually happening, because our parents, right? More especially when it comes to kids, these parents, they trust these vendors that actually selling their products to the kids, because they know that they're also trying to make a living now. But where does it leave them? Because now if we're going to be having kids that are actually poisoned, how where is it going to leave us at the society? Because the school is also going to be involved, you understand, in places like that. Parents will also start blaming the school and saying that the vendors, they should just not be around at the school. Because now, the sad part about this, even in tuck shops, there are stories where they tell you that in tuck shops at the schools, that a child ate something like this and then they reacted into these products. But I really think that another thing when it comes to this, foods just needs to be checked right now, because it seems like all of these products, the kids that they're eating, they just reacting to it.
Definitely, and we are seeing that it's all in all different spheres, and my concerns are around Poli's comment. They're saying that she feels that our kids are being poisoned on purpose. It's around the fact that we are seeing even the nutrition program in schools also children are being affected there, because in some schools we saw even 2 weeks ago there were certain learners who were who fell ill after eating from the school nutrition program. So it's a very dire situation that we are seeing. We are finding our kids being affected by whatever that they are consuming, and it's a challenge that, should we say kids should stop eating outside? You know, our parents growing up, they would say "Ungadli endlini zabantu," because they were trying to you know, prevent such incidences that you eat something and then you get affected by it. Totally coming in with a comment again saying that the government must look at the manufacturers of these products and getting it out because it's getting out of hand. Yes, definitely. The health department needs to make sure that there is inspections of these health products and making sure that these you know, health products are being secured for people to actually consume them.
That's definitely true, and I also agree with Ollie, you know, on my side, because now one of the things that these cases, they're happening each and every day. We're hearing about these things, and if it comes to a point where the nutritionists need to stop at schools, it's also going to affect some other kids, because we do know that everyone when they're able to afford a plate to eat, you know, it's also going to put other kids in jeopardy. But now it's very important to look after kids at the very same time and make sure that they're housed, because who will be to blame? You understand? Because the very same school also not want to be at fault. They were saying that they received the product. So I also agree with Paul on that one.
Yeah, definitely. The education spokesperson, Steve Mabona, was actually talking about this, to saying that, you know, there needs to be some reinforcement. And I hope that the Minister of Education is going to also look into that a school is not only about the learning and teaching, but it's also about other aspects that surround them. Because these learners buy from vendors who sell outside of the gate, vendors who sell at the corners, and these vendors come at random days. Some, you know, I can see with the school nutrition program that these are people who are signed by the school. They can be able to do some thorough checkups and regulations. Even the person selling from a tuck shop, they can be able to do some thorough checkings and regulation. But what about the vendor that is selling through the fence? What about the vendor that just pops up once a week to sell kids with a lot of things? And this is an incident that we have been seeing, and something that we have been definitely going to be tracking for you on that. Thank you so much, Babs, for joining me as we discover some of the stories that have been making rounds on our news cycle. The Eskom, the power utility, has made some change and some local reforms. That is some of the news that are making you know, the business rounds in Eskom, celebrating the 200 mark within you know, without load shedding rather. But the most important story that I am focusing on today has to be the story that is coming out from the business day, saying this is an article that was written on the 15th of October by Nompilo Koba, saying the fact that Shoprite adds 11 billion in-house brands as it looms. It talks about the fact that Shoprite adds a hefty 11 billion to annual sales from in-house brands over the past 3 years. This implications for established branded consumer goods makers such as Tiger Brands and AVI. We all know that these brand is one of the brands that, you know, people have been looking into. People have been looking into this brand, and Shoprite is saying that it has made an increase when it comes to this in-house brand, and a lot of people are buying. All right, a lot of people have not been buying from other established brands such as Tiger Brands, such as brands from the AVI, but people have been buying rather the Shoprite brand itself, and people have been engaging with it. In their 2024 annual report, it says that the annual report released on Monday says that Shoprite says its private label sales rose from 12.8% this year, contributing 21.3% to its 200 billion plus market supermarket sales, excluding the liquor. So this is excluding the liquor. Just only by the in-house brand, it has made an increase of 12.8% of in their market brands, and also says that the fact that its private label portfolio involved by 184 brands valued at 21 billion to 169 brands with 32.3 billion in 3 years ago. So there has been a great increase and a sharp increase, seeing that Shoprite there has been looking into that. And one thing about this is that this private brand, a lot of people have been looking at this private brand as something that has been of stigma, that people are able to buy this brand, that it is of low value, that when you are buying this, you are of low quality. When people are comparing Shoprite local brands within other local brands. I mean, Pick n Pay also came out with their brand, which is the no-name brand, and also Woolworths also having its own no-name brand, the Woolworths brand itself. But the Shoprite, we are seeing that Shoprite showing that Shoprite Holding has gained a market share for the 5th consecutive year, achieving sales and growth revenue twice at the pace of the rest of the market, recording its integrated 2024 reporting, showing that Shoprite market gains its market share for the 5th consecutive time, and that all its own, showing that not only does it have an impact, not only is it great for for Shoprite, but it's showing that the consumer tastes and preferences, and also in the stage of economy, people not being able to afford certain brands such as the Tiger brands and the AVI brands, they're not able to afford. And these no-name brands, or rather these in-house brands and private brands that Shoprite is producing, coming as affordable for the people of South Africa, and that this is showing some sort of reform and some sort of reshape into the economy, and what the economy of 2024 is looking like, and what our people are able to afford, and what are people willing to spend their money on when it comes to their finances, when it comes to their groceries and the brands that they trust in order to consume, in order to bring in their households there. The Shoprite saying that it adds 11 billion in an in-house brand as it looms. Looking that in an annual report released on Monday, Shoprite says its private brand sales rose to 12.8% this year, contributing 21.3% to its portfolio, evolved from 184 brands valued at 21 billion to 169 brands worth 32.3 billion 3 years ago. And that is what is happening there, and that is what we are seeing there. Congratulations to Shoprite, and we hope that definitely that the sales, and also there will be a lot of economic reform, as we all know that the new Minister of Finance and also the South African Reserve Bank has been dropping some repo rates and making sure that there is affordable houses to kind of spur the people of South Africa's pockets, and making sure that they can afford and be able to buy certain reforms. That is Shoprite there. Shoprite Holding gaining market share for the 5th consecutive time, and also looking into the in-house brand, showing an increase into its labor force, and also into its labor, its private brands. Right, before we wrap up in the business desk, let's take a look at what has been happening when it comes to your financial indicators and how the rand, the JSE, closed this afternoon. What we know is that it closed off in the positive territory, knowing that the JSE closed off on a very positive territory at the 86,582 points there, showing an increase of 0.2%, an increase there, showing its green territories. But the rand is still fighting itself against currencies there. When we are looking at currencies, we are seeing a drop within the US dollar. The rand is 17.69 cents against the US dollar. It is 19 rand 16 cents against the euro, 23.2 cents against the pound sterling, showing a drop of minus 0.5% against the pound sterling, 0.0 against the euro, minus 0.3% against the US dollar. Looking into our commodities, a very poor performance also in our commodities, mixed reactions that we are seeing. Gold prices were standing at $2,686 87.90 cents an ounce. Looking into the Brent crude there, the Brent crude oil there was looking at itself standing at trading at 74.22 cents a barrel, and that is how the financial indicators were looking there, and that is how the finances were shaping up, and in those other reservoirs there. And this market share and also these financial indicators were definitely implicated by the likes of economic reports and also geographical reports especially, and also political reforms that we are seeing there, but very good and great territories that we are seeing there with our financial indicators, right? That is how we wrap up the business on the desk right here on NewsDesk right here on television, where we inform, impact, and inspire you. As promised this week, I did mention that I'll be bringing you a conversation around breast cancer awareness, and we'll be looking into the early detection